Well, good morning and welcome to Dads with Coffee. Keith is still out. He's in a job restructuring and he's got some scheduling issues for the next 3 weeks. So I've invited a returning guest, one of my best friends, Greg Merks, pastors here in Texas, on the south side of Texas. He and I have known each other for a long time. You know him. He's been a guest with about a year ago. You were on the show, actually. And we'll talk about some of the same things we talked about last year, I think. But this time Keith won't dive into our conversation because he's at work right now, so he can't do that. So anyway, Greg, welcome. Thank you for joining us again. What's going on in your world these days?
Thank you, Aaron. Very, very excited to be with you again. I enjoy, showing up in my office on Thursday mornings, and all of a sudden I get this notification on Facebook that you guys are on. And so sometimes the first thing I do on Thursday mornings in my office is listen to you guys.
You got nothing else. You got nothing better to do. So
it may not be the healthiest way to start the day, but let's just say it this way. It's calming. You guys are calming.
That's not always the adjective that's used about us, but that's okay. We'll take that. We'll take that. So you just got back from a trip to Germany. Tell us why you were there. What drew you there? I know the answer, but I think everybody would be interested to know what drew you to Germany and how was it?
Oh, it was wonderful. Our oldest daughter, Catherine, is a journeyman missionary with the Southern Baptist International Mission Board. She has a 2-year assignment in Frankfurt, Germany, that she began last summer. So she's coming up on her first year in Germany, and we knew we were going to go. We just didn't know when, and so we finally found a time to go. And the one time we'll go while she's there. So we just got back. We spent 10 days and
Cool.
Europe. We had a built-in translator in our daughter who's learned the language, and I highly recommend that if you want to, go to Europe. A tour guide who speaks the language is always helpful, even though a lot of people speak English there. But it was.
If you want the real tour, you need to have it in German, right? You need to have somebody that can translate.
Yeah, you can get more information if you
right.
But it was fantastic. I've been telling, if you've never been to Europe, Germany's a good place to start. There are a lot of things about Germany that really are set up well. It's orderly, it's clean. It's not just extremely crowded, or at least not where we were. It was extremely crowded. So I highly recommend Germany. Of course, a lot of people who go to Europe like to go to other places or more than one place while they're there, but we were going to stay where our daughter went. So
that's understandable.
Yeah, that's why we spent 10 days in the same spot.
Have to see her and have to see the countryside. So,
or what little we could see in 10 days.
All right. So what was the best thing you saw outside of your daughter? What was the best thing you saw while you were there? The most intriguing to you?
That's hard, but I'm going to go theology now. Walking in the steps of Martin Luther.
Yep.
The very first day we went into the they call it New Old Town in Frankfurt.
Okay. Did you go to Wittenberg Castle?
Pardon?
Did you go to Wittenberg Castle?
No.
Okay.
No. Most of that section of Frankfurt was destroyed with the Allied bomb. But a couple of churches in that area were spared. The Allies kept the churches because they used them as a point of reference for the bombing. So, yeah. But the first church we went into, there's a lady there, kind of like a curator, for tourists or people coming in to see it. And I started through Catherine, started talking to her a little bit and verified that Martin Luther had been there. And that was just really our first full day there. And so I was, from that point forward, I was a fanboy, caught up in the thought of walking in the steps of Martin Luther.
right.
But that was just one of so many things. Everything's older there, and I like that.
It doesn't make you deal with your reality so quickly, right?
What's
Because
that?
everything's old. It doesn't make you deal with your reality very as quickly because everything's older there.
About my own age?
Yeah.
The only reality I dealt with my age was the fact that at our age, Anna, my wife, and I were chasing our daughter the entire time because you walk everywhere.
And she's ready to roll.
And, and both of our daughters, we were chasing our daughters all week. They were on the move, and we were trying to catch up. That was the age reality I found.
Right, right. Eat good food, I'm sure.
You know what the best food we had while we were there?
Don't say McDonald's. Please don't tell me McDonald's.
No, Chinese.
No, you're kidding me. Come on now.
Catherine loves food from all over the world, and so someone there had put her onto this little Chinese restaurant in the same area where the zoo is, a really nice area, and it's a small little restaurant, and we had dumplings. It was fantastic. Up in Frankfurt, Germany, we had the best Chinese food I've ever had in my life.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. But a lot of pastries, Aaron. A lot of pastries. Chocolate,
Yeah.
coffee.
Yeah.
Germany does those things very well.
Yeah. So is German chocolate better than Swiss chocolate?
Oh, I don't know. You know,
Now we're getting into the heart of the conversation of what we really do.
right. Well, I think it's on par with it and very similar to it.
Yeah.
Though a lot of the chocolate that we had and quite frankly brought home with us. We gave friends chocolate. They were very happy.
Right.
A lot of it was milk chocolate, and I'm a dark chocolate guy. I like dark chocolate.
Yeah, me too.
But most of the chocolate we had there was milk chocolate, and it was fantastic. It's the best milk chocolate I've ever had.
Wow. I'm asking the audience a question.
I promise that'll be the last time I say the best I've ever had in this morning together.
No, you won't.
Maybe I shouldn't promise, but I'm going to try really hard.
Oh my goodness. So she's coming back here next year. Is that right? She gets back from.
She returns to the States in April.
Now, for those of you that may not know, a journeyman is a 2-year assignment from the International Mission Board. Now, that is the mission agency of the Southern Baptist Convention that goes outside of North America, all around the world. Between 5,500 and 6,000 vocational missionaries, plus all the journey women, journey men, journey people, whatever we're calling them today. But do what?
Journey girls.
Journey girls. Yeah, that's right. So she's halfway through then, and she'll be back next year. She looking at full-time mission work? Is that what the boyfriend is interested in too, or?
We're not going to talk about the boyfriend on
and I'm totally okay with that. I understand that. She might shoot Dad later if you talk too much about the.
Caught wind of this. But let me stop here because while you were explaining to our the wonderful people tuned in this morning, I want to stop and thank your church for your gifts to the cooperative program and
absolutely
Body Moon.
Yeah,
I've been a pastor for a while and been clued into what Southern Baptist Missions is about for a while, and clued into the offering, the Christmas offering, the importance of the cooperative program. Like you, I was a recipient of cooperative program dollars when I was in seminary because, it pays a portion of our tuition.
Right.
It's never mattered as much to me as it does now that my daughter is literally an employee of the Southern Baptist International Mission Board, and her entire living is provided by the money given. She doesn't have to have a side job, or she doesn't have to earn her own support or raise her own support. And very grateful for that. And so that this is a testimony to the giving of Southern Baptists through the years to both the cooperative program and Lottie Moon. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. And it's in most of the churches of those that are listening. It is coming quickly. It is budget time of the year. And if you aren't at that 6, 7, 8% or more mark of CP giving in your church budget, think about it, because it supports people like Catherine to go out on mission and thousands of others as well. So consider that in your church budget coming up, because we're all going to be talking about budgets before long.
Well, and I've spent, so far, we've been talking about chocolate and Chinese food and
right.
The heart of what Germany is about to us right now is how our daughter is being used to proclaim the gospel.
Absolutely.
To people who are not very receptive to organized religion in general and Christianity specifically.
What's her inroad? What's her skill set? What is she using to make that happen?
It's the long game, which she only has 2 years, but relationship building, getting to know the neighbors in her apartment building, which of course learning the language was important, but the area where she lives, in the Frankfurt area, there are a lot of people from other nations there. So there are a lot of people there that German is not their first language. Yeah, they may have come from India or from the Middle East or from other places. Okay. So she's also developing relationships with those people. She's connected with the local church there. The Southern Baptist, the IMB basically assigned her to a church, and they basically function as house churches.
Okay.
They do gather, the whole church gathers periodically, but for the most part weekly. They gather in smaller groups in homes, and for encouragement. We were able to sit in on one of those. And
what was that like?
It was wonderful. If you're home groups, and small groups that meet in homes, that's basically very, very similar format. But think about being a Christian in Germany, maybe a German person who's a follower of Jesus Christ in Germany. You don't have a lot of people around you who are also followers of Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. So you treasure the moments you can spend together, gaining strength and support and encouragement, growing together. The church means more there in many ways than it does here in North America, because in North America, we don't need it in the same way. And because we don't need it, we become consumers of it.
Sure.
In the sense,
absolutely.
We pick a church based on our preferences instead of, I've got to connect with other brothers and sisters in Christ for my faith to thrive. If I don't, I'm not going to make it.
Right. Instead of I need to get with them, it's like, well, I'm going to choose who I want to and really when I want to, but you don't have that driving, I have to get with other brothers. And if I miss a week, I've missed out for things. Yeah.
Right. I need my friends, my brothers and sisters in Christ. I need to be around them so that I can continue to be strong in my faith, but also I own the reality that they need me. We are interdependent in that way. And so, yeah, it was a nice time visiting with some of the folks in her house church. Wonderful people, of course. And, I'm hoping maybe, I was talking to Catherine the other day, that only if needed, only if we could actually help, that maybe we could take a group from our church there in a year or so,
sure.
To encourage the church there. But yeah, sorry, I'm kind of rambling. You may have asked me a question and I've gone a different route. I can't remember what the original question was.
You're fine. Yeah, hey, we do this all the time. This is Dads with Coffee. We ramble along a lot of different lines of thinking. I'm just intrigued to hear more about Catherine and the effect. So let me ask you this question, and we're going to get to some other fun and important topics also. But what if any, and you may not have processed it all yet, you're still in jet lag, but what, if any, change, how did it affect you? You've been pastoring in America and in Texas for a long time, and it's different. The time that you spent there may have awakened you to something different, or maybe something that had been within you. How did that affect you? How is it going to affect how you lead the church?
That is a deep question that I am still processing.
I thought you might be.
Yeah, it's a matter of processing it. In fact, we met last night with our home group leaders in our church, and so again, I think I may have already covered some of it in what I said a minute ago. The idea of valuing and treasuring the opportunities we have to be together, and how important it is, and we live in world culture in America that has changed. If we blink, America is going to look more like Europe.
Absolutely, every day.
And if we're moving in that direction, then we've got to be like the Christians in Europe. And I'm not talking about marginal Christians. I'm talking about the ones who are deeply, deeply following Christ and seeking to be about His kingdom. You've got to find the way that matches the culture to meet and relate to people who you're seeking to lead to Christ. And the gathering model in Germany is not even remotely possible. You couldn't say, hey, we're having this event at such and such church. People won't come. They're not going to come to a church building. There are old church buildings all over the place, not being used.
Right.
In fact, the German people are highly skeptical of the authoritarian power of religion. For obvious reasons, they've had some history with authoritarian leaders.
Little history there.
Yeah. And so that is, you can't say, well, let's have our worship service and get as many people there as we can. Let's have a high attendance Sunday in worship. You're going to have to, and I think we will be here if we're not already in America. You have to develop relationships with lost people. And then those lost people, in order for them to be more likely to come to Christ, they have to meet Christians. The definition of an unreached people group, we think about people groups being people in tribal areas. But basically, the definition of an unreached people group is that someone who lives there has a 2% chance of knowing an evangelical Christian.
Right.
Which means they only have a 2% chance of having any dialogue or relationship with someone who's seriously following Jesus Christ. And so for them to come to Christ, they've got to know more Christians. And so we think about it, and I think about it, how many people do I know who are lost? I need to know more lost people. Well, the opposite of that is lost people need to know more Christians, because they're not likely to respond to a gospel from a stranger.
Right.
I would cheer any church going door to door. The reality of people being receptive to the gospel being presented by somebody they don't know is much lower now in America than it used to be, and it's going to become even less likely for that to be the case. So we have to be helping lost people connect with Christians, which means if they're not going to come on Sunday morning, then we need to find ways either in our small groups, or if I've developed a relationship with a lost person, invite another Christian to come and have lunch with that person, because they see Christ from different angles, and I'm not enough.
And it's going to have to be done in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's going to have to be done through, like you said, it's not come to our campus and receive something. It's, I need to rub shoulders with you. I'm your neighbor. I need to be your neighbor. Those kinds of things, and befriend them in order to help them understand. One of the things I was telling some people the other day was, those older than me trust and then verify. Those younger than me require verification before they will trust. And that's a huge mental swap. And for those of us in churches that are steeped in trust and verify, it's hard to make the change to understand that we have to provide verification before there's going to be trust. There's not that natural trust of religion or church any longer. It's just not. And we have to go about it in a different way.
And what you've just said is absolutely right, but that also means we have to be sincere in our relationships. Bait and switch. I'm getting to know you, and I'm just because I want to share Jesus with you.
Right.
You have to have you have to be genuinely a friend, and all that means, and they have to know that you're genuinely their friend, and even to the point of saying something to them like, you know who I am, I believe in Jesus Christ, and we could talk about that anytime you want to, but understand, I'm not your friend just because I want you to know Jesus. I'm just your friend,
or just because I want you to go to my church,
or exactly, or my. And so people who are lost in those skeptical cultures see right through the phone. It's like, oh, I didn't know. Oh, so you've been trying to be my friend, and now I just found out you're an insurance salesman. So are you trying to sell me life insurance? Is that what, we've all been, right? We've all had people who in sales, they are told to, chat up people, in a friendly way. And no, we have to sincerely be people's friends. I heard somebody say this years ago. We need to become those people that they call at 2 a.m. The 2 a.m. call. My son was in an automobile accident, when we get to that point, then the friendship's real. And now maybe we've earned the right to share the gospel. I'm not saying we should wait 3 or 4 or 5 years before we share the gospel.
Right.
But we have to be sincere in the friendship. And the problem is, in our culture, a lot of people who are lost think we don't like them.
Right.
They think we hate them. We despise them. We consider them to be what's wrong with American culture. They don't vote like we do. So we hate them because they vote differently than we do.
Well, there's too many religious leaders out there spewing some of those concepts, and it's blasted all over social media is why they believe that.
And that is burning bridges instead of building bridges.
Completely.
And it's dangerous, and we don't realize how dangerous it is. We think we're standing for the gospel, but in fact, we're destroying things that are necessary for the gospel to be received by people in our culture. And we should probably be more concerned about that than we are, but we tend to be concerned about what we want to be concerned about, myself included.
Yeah. Speaking of things that we are also concerned about outside of gospel and church life and things of that nature, we are 2 weeks out from the college football season. 2 weeks out from the college football season. And, I was reading, and for those of you that don't know, I'm an Oklahoma State fan, but I grew up in Tennessee, and I was a Vol fan, a Tennessee Volunteer football fan growing up. And Greg is from the dark side of the universe, and is an Alabama Roll Tide fan. There's no shame in that game. They have dominated the college football universe for a long time. But I read an article the other day. I don't know if you read it, but I wanted to get your thought on this because I thought it was a little strong. It was a quote. It was a quote from Saban, actually. Nick Saban, the coach of Alabama, made the comment that he's looking forward to a better year this year because last year was a rebuilding year. They were in the national championship game How is that a rebuilding year? Can you help me understand that, coming from, a lowly Big 12 institution that, can't find its way to that point? How is being in the national championship a rebuilding year? I don't understand.
Well, I think you have to get into the mind of Nick Saban, which is not easy to do.
People have been trying for a while.
But you have to see it from Nick Saban's world, or the way he sees it. Um, any general, myself included, college football fan would say that if you make it to the national championship game, it's not a rebuilding year. But Saban knows what standards they have.
I know.
He's not thinking about wins and losses. He's thinking about whether or not they performed up to a certain level consistently. And I will say this as a fan, that this team, even though they only lost 2 games and lost,
they struggled through some.
They were not firing on all cylinders for much of the season. I went to the Texas A&M game in College Station.
Mm-hmm.
I had so many A&M fans just saying, "Oh gosh, I hope at least we're still in the game in the fourth quarter." Gosh, it's going to be a blowout at halftime. They were just, and A&M had come off of a couple of really bad losses, and A&M were so negative about it. And I'm like, this Bama team hasn't really been playing that well. Florida almost beat them. And sure enough, man, it was a buzzsaw. And I think Saban sees a game like that and says, we didn't perform the way we should. And yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. It sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it makes perfect sense to Nick Saban. And it's why Nick Saban has been so successful, is that his bar is a lot higher. His standards are a lot higher. And he's not looking at losses. He knows whether or not on every play of every game they're performing to the level they need to be performing. And so I believe Nick Saban when he says that, because I believe Nick Saban believes that.
I believe it because I think he believes it, but it sounds so arrogant to the rest of us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and he doesn't, I don't know that he means it in an arrogant way. It's just that, I mean, he's like the guy who's just a genius in some area, a math genius. And they're just going on and on about math. And you're like, what in the world are you talking about? I don't know. And they're so immersed in that world that they're not even aware of how normal people see math, Yeah. And I think that's Nick Saban sometimes, is that he says what he says, and we look at it as like, gosh, that's arrogant, but he's not even thinking about it in those terms. He's answering a question.
So he to the football world is who the guy in Beautiful Mind was to mathematics. If you've seen that movie, he starts talking, but nobody understands what he's saying.
The hallucination part of that.
Yeah, right.
I don't think Nick Saban has hallucinations.
At least not yet.
He is concerned about rat poison, which I'm assuming could cause hallucinations. Talk about football, but you have to understand, not only have I been in Germany, not a whole lot of interest in American football in Germany, but also I'm a baseball fan, man. It's baseball season, and I'm a huge Astros fan, and we're in the middle of another playoff push.
Now, were you always an Astros fan, or since moving down there you've become an Astros? Because I thought you were a Braves fan when we were.
That's right. I was a big Braves fan, and when we were in seminary, the Braves were really good and going to the World Series, and I was a big Braves fan. And when we moved here, I couldn't see the Braves game, because they're regional, they're national TV, and so I kind of checked out of baseball for a few years, and then in 2017. Or the beginning of the season, I said, I'm going to start watching the Astros because their games are on. Every game is
all the time. Yeah.
All the time. And so I started watching, and I fell in love with the team. And then everything that year happened. They're making a push to the World Series. We had Harvey here. and now they became the Houston Strong patches on their jerseys. The rallying point,
Yeah.
and it turned into more than baseball.
Sure.
And
Sure.
so I fell in love with that then, and that it's because of that I'm able to deal with the cheating scandal. I'm not one of they cheated. They cheated. They cheated.
They did.
I did have like that season after I wasn't there. I just didn't feel it. But I started watching them the next season, and I'm back. But they're you know baseball. I mean, I'm also at my age realizing why old men love baseball. There's a reason why old men love baseball. I mean, in churches I've pastored, a lot of our senior adults, that's how they pass their time. If it was in the Southeast, they're watching the Braves every night.
Sure.
And it's they sit down, in their respective chairs, and they
Right.
turn on the baseball game.
Now I know that's National League. I don't know if you follow AL any at all, but did you see where the Rangers have released their baseball operations guy for failure to have a winning season in the last 5 years?
I thought, did they also fire the manager?
I don't. I didn't see that. I just saw the baseball operations. O'Neill, I think is his name. They let him go.
I, I'm not fresh on it, but I thought I heard that maybe the manager had been fired. But yeah, by the way, I was a Rangers fan too when we lived in Fort Worth.
So it's just wherever local is for you.
Well, it's because you can go to the games,
All right.
and it's
Well, I used to go to the games. I can't afford to go to the games these days.
yeah.
But
New stadium looks kind of one thing, because I watch so many games. I've seen a lot of the games that the Astros have played. Is it Globe Life Field? Yeah, played the Rangers, and I'm not a fan of the backdrop. The whole game, you're watching people eating their nachos
right,
because it's like this. It's not like conventional stands. It's like tables, and
right.
you get some person just sitting there just.
Yeah, we just got word on Facebook. John Daniel and Chris Woodward were both let go. So yeah, apparently the manager and the baseball operations were both let go. So
Rangers spent a lot of money going into this season,
yeah,
which means if you don't produce on the field,
somebody has to pay the price for that.
yeah, that's tough. It's been a lot of money. It's been a lot of money. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, you can maybe give insight into this, as I'm a rookie in this, but we are 6 days into empty nesting in our house, but you are much further along in that process than we are. So help a brother out. What's that like moving forward? How have you and Anna moved through that process together?
2 words.
Coffee.
Astros. Watch Astros every night. No, it is. It's not the same for every person, and your children are different.
Oh yeah.
Which means some children leave, and you're constantly aware of the fact that they're gone. But some children leave, and it doesn't seem that different than it was when they were home, because they were always gone anyway.
I have one of each of those.
And so for us, when Catherine leaving, she was more a homebody, whereas our youngest Haley was always out, always hanging out with her friends. Probably hanging out at their house instead of our house, that kind of thing. And so it's a different dynamic. Though when we were in Germany, all 4 of us were in Germany. It was nice, all 4 of us being together. Mm-hmm. That's what I miss. I miss that rare occasion that we could get when they were in elementary school and high school, when all 4 of us just found ourselves together, and it didn't always have to be planned. We were together.
Wait, we're all here tonight. What do we do now?
Yeah, yeah. So I miss that. Um, you have to find a way to release them. Um, and again, some kids it's easier to release than others. Um, some kids are more independent by nature.
Mm-hmm.
Some kids are
Mm-hmm.
more dependent by nature. And so, whereas one child, may not call or text you because they need anything for months and months and months, the other may be texting you pretty regularly,
Right.
and so it's. I think part of it has to do with your children may be different, and that dynamic is different. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but I think we felt it felt a little bit like being empty nesters after our oldest went to college because our youngest wasn't home a lot.
Right.
We, in some ways, were practical empty nesters then. But I will tell you this: it is important for you to see it as an opportunity to deepen
Mm-hmm.
your relationship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, you're not being pulled away from each other
Right.
because of all the responsibilities you have with your children. So take advantage of that opportunity to maybe be able to be into each other a little bit more than you were able to be when your kids were in the house. One thing that Anna and I have talked about, we have not done a good job about this, which sounds odd saying we just came back from Germany. We need to travel more,
Mm-hmm.
find reasons to leave town together. Either it's hard on the weekend.
Right.
It's difficult for pastors to take a weekend to go do something because they have an obligation on Sunday morning. But
Mm-hmm.
find ways, and then my wife is a school teacher, so she's not free Monday through Friday, so they only leaves one day. But find ways to be together and do things together. And Anna keeps telling me we need to find a hobby.
Other than watching the Astros play every night.
I kind of thought the Astros were our hobby. Yeah, looking at 2 sets of golf clubs in my office. I actually picked up a set for Anna a few weeks ago, a used set, and we haven't used them together yet, but that's one thing in the back of my mind is maybe we, start going to play golf together. But little things like that. But it does, anybody who's dealing with the sadness, it's natural to be sad. You're mourning.
Sure.
You're mourning the loss of something. And
And let me push back on that just a little. I mean, there is that, but at the same time, this is what we've been training for, isn't it? I mean, that we want them to be productive citizens of the country and to be independent and to be able to survive life outside of the home. I mean, that's also a part of what we need to be focusing on too.
Absolutely, as long as they never leave us. No, you're right. Of course, it's our job as parents.
Sure.
But I think I'm speaking to anyone who's dealing with the sadness.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be sad because you are mourning the loss of,
Sure.
quite frankly, something you'll never get back.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize that. You realize once they leave the house to go to college, it's never going to be the same. Now, sometimes they come back and, the failure. But even that's not the same. But yeah, it's understandable to be sad about it. But it is what we've been training for. It's what we've been trying to get them to the point where they can be independent adults. And then that's the other side of it. There are rewards. There are those moments when you realize, wow, she really is an adult. Wow, she's better than I was.
How'd that happen?
Yeah, so you see the fruit, and some, for some it may be harder to see than others or slower to come than others. But I mean, even just this trip to Germany, seeing our Catherine, you just realize she's a full-grown adult now. Going to be married, the next couple of years.
But we're not talking about that.
But she's just her interactions with people, and and realizing, even when we stayed in her apartment, which was nice, and I have to spend money on lodging, but it's her apartment.
Yeah.
Got a lot, and she's been living on her own for a while, and it's just little things like that that kind of you start realizing,
Sure.
yeah, that's what it means to be an adult. And
Yeah.
it took me longer to grow up than it has my daughter. I mean, I went off to seminary and lived with four guys in an apartment, and I'm not sure we grew up.
I'm not sure any of us have yet.
Yeah, yeah. At least
Maybe Paul.
we were not functioning fully as adults. Let's put it that
I
way.
know. Yeah, Mark hasn't yet. Come on now.
Yeah, but yeah, empty nesters. It's real, and the tears you shed when you at college are not just for the fact that you're not going to get to see them very much in the next few
Right.
months, but it's the end of an era.
Yeah, it is. It's a new chapter.
It's a new chapter. It is. Yeah.
Well, Greg, thank you for coming on to the show with us today. Appreciate it, and always love having you on. And I know you comment a lot as well when you're watching, so appreciate that. And again, appreciate you being with us today.
My pleasure, Aaron. I really do enjoy spending Thursday mornings with you guys. And I'm not joking about that. It's fun. I appreciate just people have burdens on their minds, and sometimes it's nice to just kind of unwind with some just jovial, non-threatening conversation. And so we appreciate what you guys are doing as well. And roll Tide.
Oh yeah. I knew we were going to do that.